Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the Houndsman XP podcast. I'm your host, Chris Powell, and I'm excited about bringing this podcast to you. It's really a laid back podcast, but it's really valuable too. I've got Kody Lostroh and Justin Angelovich on the podcast this week, and we're just going to talk about what it is to be a hunter, where it started, how we got our starts, tell some stories. We're just going to lay it all out there. And Kody Lostroh, of course, he never disappoints. But this is the first time you've ever heard from Justin. And Justin's the new president of the United Houndsmen of Colorado. And Kody is the vice president. So it was an honor to sit down with them. And just three guys with a cup of coffee. We recorded this early in the morning. And just kind of bared our souls a little bit. Talked about what hunting means to us and hounds and all of it. So there you have it, folks. We're going to call this one Lion Hunter for Life. Button right here.
No.
Oh, my goodness. The recording is going.
There you go.
Kody's been talking up a storm since you've been, and Kody's good anyway. Kody always comes through on the mic. So, Kody, welcome back to the podcast, man.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's always good to visit with you.
He got a little choked up right there, Justin.
Yeah, I know. I heard it.
Well, I'm emotional. I haven't seen you in a while, man.
Yeah, last time we were together, we were down there with Shorty and eating that chicken and that salsa. You said, man, that's the best salsa I've ever had.
I know it, and I forgot to take some home. I was more excited about that salsa than anything. And yeah, maybe next time. That give me a good excuse to get back down there.
Yeah, I always leave stuff when I go out there. I've left the time before last, I left some tools out there, so I had to go back. And this last time, I left a Honda generator sitting up there in the equipment yard when I was unloading my trailer. So now I've got to go back.
Well, there's worse places you could be going to.
You got that right, man. That place is awesome. Justin, welcome to the podcast. This is your initial trip down the gauntlet here on the Houndsman XP podcast.
And, yes, sir. Well, thank you for having me.
You bet. So, pronounce your last name. I'm not even going to try.
Angelovich, Justin Angelovich.
Angelovich. Yes. I should have shown a little bit of courage there and threw it out there. That's how. But I didn't know if it was Angelovich.
Oh no, I've heard every rendition you could possibly imagine in the last 30 years of life. So
yeah. Well, this is going to be a podcast where we're just going to kick back a little bit and tell some stories and tell our, the title of this show is Lion Hunter for Life. And we're going to talk about the values of hunters, but we're going to talk about what hunting means to us on an individual level. And just a real quick backdrop on this whole thing. Justin just assumed the president's role of the United Houndsmen of Colorado, and Kody is the vice president. So you guys are real gluttons for punishment. And
yeah. It's like waking up every morning and hitting yourself in the foot with a hammer.
You probably have some experience in that, Justin.
Yes. Yeah.
I was watching this video. This is what's alarming. I was watching a reel on social media, and it was this competition where it had these men lined up like in a relay, and they had to run down, and there was a 16 penny nail started in the top of a block of wood, a big chunk of firewood sitting on its end like a big stump, and a hammer laying there. And the contest was to run up and take the hammer, and whoever drove the nail in first won the contest.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This is kind of symbolic of the kind of culture we're dealing with, trying to get to understand our hunting culture, because these men are running up there and they don't even come close to hitting the nail.
Yeah, it'd be a safe day to be the nail every now and then.
It would be real safe in that crowd.
Yeah.
But I've watched over the years, we used to have people come here and to our place, and we had a little outfitting business here where we took people on outdoor adventures, and just real simple life skills that we take for granted escapes your modern suburban man. You know, trying to watch them split a piece of firewood. I mean, it was dangerous. I was like, no, let's go through some stuff here. So that's what we're up against. And Justin, I know that you pound nails, you bend nails for a living.
Yeah.
So and Kody, you're out there ranching and living that lifestyle. So we're just going to talk about what we do and how we do it and why we do it and what it means to us. And I'll kind of kick it off here with the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about this is the other day I was going through a box of stuff that mom had saved for me. I don't know if your parents are alive or not, but eventually you will get this box of stuff after your mom dies. You're going to get this box of stuff and you're going to go through it, and it's going to bring back all kinds of things from your childhood memories. And a lot of it you're going to sit there and look at and think, why in the world did she save this? You know? I mean, I can understand, you know, some of the letters that came that were written back and forth when I was in the military and stuff like that, and some memorable pictures, but she saved this paper that I wrote when I was 9 years old. And it said, it was like, the title of it is, "What age would you want to be?" And I picked the age 30. And then I had to list the reasons why I wanted to be 30. And there were a lot of things in there: travel, you know, have some freedom to go do the things. But one of the things, a real short sentence in there, said, I could hunt whenever I wanted to at 9 years old. And it just brought it back to me. It's like, why do I do what I do? And how much foresight did I have? And I think I had some pretty good foresight for being a 9-year-old, because 30 was a damn good age for one thing. You know, you're old enough, you're secure in your career, you got your family started, you do have a lot of freedoms and things like that. But I also made it a point in that paper, I could hunt whenever I wanted to. Have you guys, what's your early memories of hunting or wanting to hunt, Justin?
Oh, I've really been kind of spoiled into it. You know, my uncles, the Whitaker twins.
Yeah.
And so
they're a challenge for
right.
sure.
And I've been spoiled. I've been spoiled into it, man. I've been as fortunate as anybody could expect, you know, hound hunting especially. I can remember one of the first ones I ever went with them. We got on the mountain and it's snowing bad. And it was almost blizzard whiteout conditions, and I'm freezing to death. You know, I was probably 12, 13 years old. I thought it was the coolest thing on the planet. Like, I should have been terrified, you know, but no, I didn't care. We were there, we were doing it, and I've been lucky in the fact that I've had people around me who knew what they were doing and taught me how to do what they were doing. And I've been able to learn from them. And then it just kind of puts a sickness in you when it's in your blood. You know, both sides of my family all hunt, and I don't know what I would do without actually hunting something. And following dogs around it's as cool as it gets. You know, you've got this relationship with this dog, you've got this whole nother realm of hunting, which is spore, and that story can go on for decades. You know, we'll never figure that one out, but it's unlike anything else, man, to be able to hunt and be able to follow dogs around. It's as special to me as most things, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's, Kody, what's your earliest memory of hunting? Just hunting in general.
Yeah, so I grew up. My dad was a big bird hunter, right? He hunted ducks and geese and upland birds, and so that's what I grew up doing as well. You know, we've always raised dogs, and we raised Chesapeakes when I was real young, and you know that I remember sitting out there in a duck blind or sneaking up on a warm water slough in the middle of winter and going after these birds, and it was always about the hunt, right? Like doing the things to put you in the position to be able to pull the trigger or not pull the trigger. That the pulling the trigger, you know, it's always fun, especially as a kid, whether we're shooting targets or shooting birds or whatever we're hunting. But the funnest part for me has always been the pursuit. The pursuit was where it's at, and you know, pulling the trigger or not pulling the trigger never really mattered a whole lot. It was about the experience. And I say that now looking back on it, you know, as a kid, you're always excited to get to the finish line, right? But when I
Yeah.
look back on it, I realized I did enjoy the race more so than crossing the finish line, if that makes sense.
You
Um,
enjoy the process.
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, right? The people that love the process, and I talk about this a lot in sports and the other things I deal with, but the people that love the process are actually the people that go the furthest. Uh, if you're just worried about getting to the finish line, you know, you're going to have limitations. But if you're in love with the process, there literally is no limit, and that's maybe a personality trait of mine. I don't know. I get addicted to the process more than anything. And you know, it's funny you brought up that letter you wrote that you wanted to be 30 so you could have unlimited time to hunt or whatever the thought behind that was. So my dad probably about a year ago gave me a letter that I wrote, and I was probably 8 or 9, maybe 10. And I don't even remember writing this, but it's for sure
Yeah, me either. I don't remember writing this.
yeah, and it's for sure my writing, and I drew a picture to go along with it and everything. But I said my dream is to hunt tigers all over the world.
Hmm.
and I legit do not ever remember writing that, but
Well,
I'm like, wow, that was in my heart before I even knew it was in my heart, right? And obviously, we're not hunting tigers, but I think it was just the aspect of doing something, you know, going after doing something that's really challenging that must have been with me from a young age.
It's crazy when I think about that, and I think about, you know, my letter and the fact that I wrote that so long ago, and how that, I mean, what is it about having that dream when you're that age, and then, you know, for me, 45 years later, and looking at how much I've invested in that part of my life and how that all came about. You know, my earliest memories of hunting are bird dogs and seeing dead quail on the tailgate and things like that from my dad and my grandparents. But I always was just enthralled and consumed by the story and the process. Like you said, you know, there are things about my first deer camps that I remember as far as the hunting goes, but a lot of the memories go back to getting ready for deer camp. I remember, you know, the fact that I got taken out of school on a Thursday to go set up camp on Friday to hunt Saturday, and packing everything and double checking my gear and, you know, that sort of stuff. And I was always really consumed with other stories. I mean, I wore out pages of old hound hunting magazines and when I was into that stage of my life. But outdoor life, sports afield, one of the favorite things was when we sat up and we read before we could read even, you know, we would have dad read us stories from outdoor life or sports afield,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just dreaming about that. And I've always been into the mountain man movies. When I was a little kid, you know, in the 70s is when Jeremiah Johnson came out. And I remember watching that movie. And every time it would come on, we watched that movie when I was a kid. And just being, that's how I played. That's how I, you know, we grew up with toy guns and setting up little mock camps, and, you know, we playing war and cowboys and Indians, and we'd bring in game to eat, you know. It was just
Mm-hmm.
part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
think that's what, a lot of people don't realize about, especially the hunting world, right? It's not just a thing you do, it is a legit way to grow up and live. Everybody grows up and lives, kind of experiences the world in their own unique way. Uh, but the hunting world is that, right? It's about really being in touch with our surroundings, right? Our world, the place we live in. Like the the culture anymore tries to separate humans from nature, right? They think we can exist separate from it, but that's not the case. We've been a part of nature forever, and we always will be. Uh, and
Yeah.
that's something I guess the hunting community is a lot more in touch with.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree with that. You talk about early memories there, Chris, and to play off of what Kody's saying too is my old man. He uh he told me I wanted a Red Ryder BB gun when I was little, and he told me I was gonna earn this BB gun that I could do chores or whatever. He'd give me a few quarters here and there, and so I did. In my mind too, even now as an adult, I did mountains of work, But
Oh yeah.
my dad's told me now, he's like, no, you didn't do very much work. He's like, I would come in and I would sneak money from my change from my pockets in your little jar, and I kept a jar. And I still remember this to this day. I took this, it was a Folgers coffee can, and I walked into Big R and I poured that sucker out on the countertop and grinned from ear to ear and then told him I wanted one of them BB guns. And that lady sat there and laughed and counted every dime, every penny, and I got my BB gun. And I think I ended up actually having more than enough money. And so I got my pellets and everything. And when I tell you, I went to decimating the populations of varmints around the house, it was I was daylight to dark outside with that BB gun for the longest time, and my dad made me take one of the rabbits that I had got because the Red Ryder BB gun, it won't hardly kill a thing, it's not very strong. But I had killed this rabbit and I brought it to show him. He says, all right, well, you get to eat it now. And he strung that rabbit up in the doorway of the back door of the house. I'll still remember this. Jerked that skin off there, and I thought that was the worst smelling thing on the face of the earth. I had never smelled anything like that. And if you've ever skinned a rabbit, they stink pretty good. And we skinned that thing down, threw it in a skillet, had nothing but the rabbit for dinner, like just rabbit in a skillet right then. And
Living like savages.
it was like the best. And for me as a kid, that's the best meat I've ever ate in my life. Now as an adult, I've been at some nice restaurants, whatever. But that stupid rabbit in that little house we had was the best meat I've ever ate. And even to this day, I'm a business owner now, and I go out and I turn what I can do with my hands into money, and all the time I think about that coffee can full of change, and hunting, what it does for us as human beings, it kind of gives us a connection with the natural world, and it gives us a sense of belonging that I think you see in today's society that people don't have on something, and then you have somebody that's so against something, whether it's whatever it is, some anti of anything else. I think they get that passionate and that obsessed is because they don't have any of that value that we carry through hunting in their life, and so they attach themselves that passionately to something, even if it may be wrong or different or whatever it is. And I think hunters and the people from the hunting community as a whole, we're so rooted in nature and hunting and our traditions we've been taught by our families that it's just a different thing.
Do you think that there's some human behavior stuff going on there? It's like I'm miserable and I want you to be miserable too. Do you think it's that
So
deeply rooted in the
yeah,
people that want us to stop hunting?
yeah. Society's in a really weird spot, I mean, and then we're in this instant gratification world. Nobody's willing to build something. Take it from I have a construction business. Nobody wants to build anything for themselves. Like I have plenty capable people that could do what needs to be done, will hire me to do a job because they don't want to build anything for themselves. Well, the same comes with any of this stuff. People don't want to educate themselves when it comes down to something. People don't, they see the quick, snappy, emotional thing and they grab hold of it and they jump on the bandwagon and who look at me kind of deal. And I don't know, man, it's unfortunate. And the other thing is nobody's ever okay with something that they don't understand anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well,
that's
my
tough.
earliest memories of like wild food go back to those quail hunting days with grandpa and my dad. And I was just somewhere, this wasn't included in my box of pictures. I've got to find it. But there's a picture of me standing there in pajamas with the little feet in the bottom of them, you know,
Hmm.
and standing there, I was probably just almost just above my dad's knee, and he's holding quail, you know. I remember even at that age, I remember looking at those quail and we baked them. I remember they'd breasted them out and the breasts were all shiny and kind of red. And I looked at them and I thought, those look like hot dogs. And then I got really excited, you know. That's my earliest memory of eating wild stuff that was actually gathered from the field and didn't come from a grocery store.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we all get those experiences, right? When we're young, it's almost like, oh, I wonder what that tastes like. I wonder what that tastes like. Uh, I remember the same deal being a kid and eating every bird that I had ever shot just to see what it tastes like. And you know,
How'd
it
you pull that off? Did your mom fix them or did you fix them? You have a campfire? What's the story behind that, Kody?
yeah, honest, I'd cook it myself. I'd make a little fire, or a lot of times we were sitting in a blind and we had a little portable heater, and we'd cook them right on top of the heater.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the stuff I did when I was younger makes me shake my head now, but I'm sure the stuff I did when I was younger really made my parents shake their head.
Oh yeah, I remember one time my brother and I were back at the creek, and of course we had our fort set up and stuff, and we were foraging and we found an old coffee can when they were still steel, and we knew this trick because of camping with our dad and stuff. You know, we never took pots. We would just cook the beans by the fire in the can. You know,
Yeah.
why dirty a pot? You're gonna fix them in that can anyway. It'll work. So we found an old coffee can and we caught a bunch of crawdads out of the creek and we boiled those suckers. We didn't purge them. We didn't put them, you know, any of that stuff. It wasn't prepped. We fixed those suckers and we ate them right there and we feasted like kings on these little red crawdads that were full of mud, you know, and but
Hmm.
it was awesome. And I just it's one of those things that I look at modern society and germophobia and all this other stuff. We didn't die, you know.
Mhm.
We didn't die.
Well, that was very fortunate of you. I'm sure you may have had to make sure your TP was close to you for a while, though.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. That's yeah.
Yeah.
uh but
Yeah.
you know, it's I've got a theory, and the thing that sparked this is Mike Thorman said something on a podcast that we were recording with him one time, and he summed it up real well. He said the farther people get away from the farm, the more they lose touch with the actual natural order of life and how the world works. And I got to thinking about that. Not for one, that he's absolutely spot on. And in 1800, 73% of our population in this country was directly related to agriculture in some way. It was an astronomical, overwhelming amount. And then as you go down through time, it keeps getting farther and farther away. And today we're at Some people will say as high as 3, other people will say as low as 1% of our country, of our society in the United States has any connection to agriculture at all.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what happens when that number keeps going down, right? Like it's been going down forever. That's 1% feeding 99%.
Yeah, you get Bill Gates developing our food in the laboratory.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah. But the theory that goes along with that, even though we're there, when you drive through suburbia, there's a reason why, the families on the weekend are out there manicuring their lawns and trimming their hedges and doing all this manual labor, because I still think deep down inside of them, they have this instinct to be connected to the land. So they put that energy into their own little yard there and competing with their neighbor for a better looking yard and trimming their hedges and doing. I think that is directly tied to a human being's instincts to work with the land.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
I seen, what I noticed during COVID when, at the height of it, right? When everything was shut down, people weren't working and this and that, is the mountains where I am all winter long got so crowded. And it wasn't with, hunters and this and that. It was with people that had probably hadn't been in the mountains in years. And that's where everybody went, right? When it hit the fan and there was really nothing to do, they went and wanted to reconnect with the wild, with nature. And I would have never expected that. Honestly, I figured the mountains would be, have them to myself basically. And it was just unreal how many people got out there and really wanted to be involved in the wild. But you're totally right. I think deep down, we all have that longing. We all have that connection for nature that has been lost on some along the way, but everybody's got it down in there somewhere.
And I think a big part of that too is that people are getting stuck in the machine, Chris. They got to wake up, go to work in the morning, come home, see their family, pay their taxes, pay their bills, and then by Saturday they're slap wore out. They don't want nothing to do with nothing no more. And I think people are losing parts of what make us who we are because they're stuck in that machine. They're worn out,
But they've got the time and the energy to go to the mountains. I mean,
they do, but they're giving up on it. That's what I've seen over here with some people that I know and different things is the machine's chewing people up right now. And they're kind of giving up on it, They're just losing they're losing their motivation and they don't have the discipline to continue on. And so it makes it difficult. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah, I was in the Flathead working during COVID, and we were doing the construction work up there and stuff. But you would drive out to MacArthur Lake or places like you couldn't find a campsite. Mm-hmm. Those campgrounds, those remote campgrounds way back in the mountains were full. It was amazing. And I always give everybody in the West a hard time. It's like, a day on the mountain that's crowded in the West is, instead of seeing, 2 trucks, you see 3. Where are all these people coming from? And you drive through the Jefferson, Washington National Forest in Virginia. And if you don't see a dozen trucks or vehicles on the road, it's like, where the heck's everybody at? It's crazy. It's all a matter of perception.
Yeah, absolutely. I always think when I see extra people out there, I say, why aren't these people working? They should be working out there. Well, I guess I'm not working. They're probably wondering why the hell I'm not out there.
Right. I'll be out hunting early in the morning one morning, and it'll be 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll see somebody driving down an old dirt road that I need to be driving down. I'm like, what are they doing here? Why are they out here?
Yeah.
That's the old houndsman in us, you growl as the truck goes by.
No sense in going up this canyon, but then the part kicks in where you're like, I'm going to drive up there and I'm going to find a track that they missed.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to post it on Instagram and tell people where I caught it. Cause I saw so-and-so up in that canyon and I want him to know.
Yeah.
That's always a big thing here. You know, if you catch a track behind somebody that drives up a road or something, it's like, man, you get on the radio and you make sure that everybody that's on the mountain that day that's tuned into your frequency, everybody in your group knows that so-and-so missed a track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all
awesome.
miss them though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a guy that doesn't miss them is your uncle Josh.
Josh?
Have you ever seen him miss a track?
Josh reads the ground better than he can read a book.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
That guy can read ground. And he's got frustrated with me because, you know, I've been trying to learn since I was little. And I'll be like, how is this track? Or what's that? He's like, it's a skunk, Justin, Jesus. And I'll sit and I'll be like, what? We'll argue over a track, and I know he's always right, but I have to argue with him because it's in the blood, I guess. But we'll argue over something, and I know he's right even while I'm arguing with him. But it's like, and he'll just glance at it and walk by fast. I'll get being that far from it and still can't make heads or tails. But yeah, that sucker, he can read some ground. I've been fortunate to be able to follow him around. I don't know how much I've just been odd or confused, but I think I've picked a thing or two up along the way. Not enough yet, but
is Jason like that?
Oh yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. Them two, they're 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. You know,
they share a brain, don't they?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
There is something about that identical twin thing, man. I'm telling you, it's like when they're in the womb and they're connected at the head or something. It's like all the chemicals flow back and forth, and that stays with you for life.
Oh yeah, they look at each other and have a full sentence conversation and never open their mouth. Yeah, I mean, I'm serious. We'd travel. We'd go down to Mexico and do hunts down in Mexico. There'd be times, you know, you need to say something without saying it out loud to one another, whether it's whoever's around or whatnot, you know. And they'd look at each other, and I'd look at them, and I'd think, oh, that's what that meant, you know. And nothing to ever be said. Then, you know, hour or two later, I'd be like, hey, so they'd be like, yeah, you're right. Like, oh man.
You know what app I use on my phone more than any other app besides the podcast app to listen to this here podcast? I use onX. onX Maps is the most comprehensive mapping system for hunters on the market today. I use it all the time. When I was in New Mexico, I was looking at 40,000 acres of ranch that I needed to learn. I flip open onX and just start studying the map. When I'm riding trails, I put the tracking app on. It helps me get around in strange country. I could mark water sources, food sources, bear sign, just all kinds of options within onX. You need to check out onX Maps by going to houndsmanxp.com. Click on the link on our sponsor page. You'll go right to onX Maps, and when you check out, enter the code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your order. Know where you stand with onX. Oh man, those guys.
You ever feel that way with your dogs though too? Honestly, like as you're talking
100%.
Seems like we talk about humans being able to do that, but people and dogs have that same type of connection where it's like, I know what he's thinking, he knows what I'm thinking. We hadn't said a word.
Dogs are better at it than people are. You know, they like over 80% of their whole communication method is nonverbal. You know, just being able to read body language and different things. And I think that's a place. I remember the days when people would say, don't pet that dog, he's a hunting dog, you know, and you'll ruin that dog if you make a pet out of him. And I think what we're seeing in the modern world, you know, as we get farther into this thing, is that's totally baloney. You know, that's bullshit with a capital B and an S. I mean, my wife, she's got a pit bull and a boxer here, and she communicates with those dogs on a level that I can only dream about, because just her interaction with them and the time she spends with them and them being able to read their body language. They know when it's time to go for a walk. They know if you rattle a plastic bag in the house, it's like, man, that means treat. Just the way she moves, they don't get excited in the mornings, and some of it's routine. I get that. But even on a Saturday, they don't get excited in the mornings because it's like, she's moving around and she's going to leave us. So there's no sense in getting excited here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think you're exactly right, Kody.
I had a dog like that, man. And that's actually the dog that inevitably got me into hound hunting. I had a old bird dog before all of this hound hunting stuff. And that bird dog ran away, could never find it. And I was actually at the pound looking for that bird dog. And I was walking through, and it's all glass windows through there. Each little bay's kind of a kennel for them. And I go past this goofy brindle dog jumped up and starts jumping on the glass, barking at me, excited, spinning around in circles, and then I walk off and I hear that dog quit barking. And so I go look in all the kennels, and I'm on my way back out of there, and I'm getting ready to leave, and I walk past that dog again. That dog jumps up, starts barking, and jumps on the glass and spins in circles. And the lady that works there, she goes, sir. I was like, yeah. She goes, I think you should see that dog. That dog doesn't do that to nobody. And I had noticed there's other people, and that dog's only barking at me. I was so confused. I couldn't. And I was, that dog I had lost, I had for, I don't know, like 8 years. So I was a little heartbroken. I needed a dog. I didn't have one at the time. So I'm like, all right, well, let me go sit in this room with this dog. So they take you into a little room with a bench, and they let that dog in, and that dog come through there like a wrecking ball. I mean, just plowed into me, jumping all over me, licking me. And she's like, sir, I don't know what's gotten into it. So this dog is just super excited to see you. Do you know this dog? I'm like, I have no idea what this dog is, And I was hooked. I was hooked from there. And she was ended up being like a cur cross. And I didn't know.
Did you do a 23andMe on her or what?
No, I wish I had. She was probably all sorts of different types of things, but we were pretty sure she was a cur cross. And I would talking to Josh, and Josh one time is like, well, maybe try and hunt coons with her or something, And me and my buddy, we had gotten us a couple little chunks of land, and we thought that was the coolest thing in the world. We had been trapping a little bit and stuff. And so I just took the dog one time, and when I got to backtrack here a little bit, but when I'm getting the story on this dog, like, why is it in the pound? The lady tells me, she's like, oh, let me look. And she's looking through the paperwork. And she says, oh, she came in as a stray. And at this pound, they pumped our stomachs when they come in as strays. And in her notes, she had that this dog had cat remains in its stomach. And I'm like, oh, goodness. Well, I'll probably make a hound, And so I hunted coons with that silly dog. And that dog ended up being one of the best friends I've ever made in my life for over 10 years. And that dog, she became my boat dog, my everything. I ended up naming her Shadow because she'd never left me. She was with me all the time, man. And I could sit and talk to my wife about going fishing the next day. In a normal adult human conversations, not even look at the dog or say nothing to her, and 4:30 in the morning, all you hear is that tail against the door. That dog was ready to go before the alarm went off. She knew we were going fishing that day, even if I didn't tell her. She see me go put something in the boat. The next morning, she was up bright and early. She knew it was ready to go. And if I ever charged my collars, and that dog seen me charge a collar, oh man, it was like 3:00 in the morning. That dog was up and at him.
Yeah, it's like, go back to sleep. I'm not ready to get up
it's
yet.
like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So, but yeah, that dog was, and like Kody said, we developed these intimate relationships with these hounds that other people don't. Like, I don't want to take anything away from somebody that's got a nice yard dog. that's good with their kids and good with their family and would probably bite somebody that came through the door at the wrong time. Like I don't want to take anything away from those people, but what those people also have to understand is that people like me and Kody and a lot of the other houndsmen you've had on your podcasts, we've put hundreds upon hundreds of intimate hours with these dogs, with just us and them dogs, and each dog I've had a few dogs, not as many as some, but I've had probably, I don't know, 8 or 9 in the last 10 years. And every dog is completely different, just like a person. They all have their personalities. They all have their niche that they fit into. They all have their interaction that you and them have that are different, and it's like having this odd little extended family, that's loud and argumentative and makes a mess everywhere it goes. But it's a very unique relationship between two beings more than it is a dog and an owner relationship when you spend all this time with these hounds.
Yeah, and I think what we see, you mentioned that connection there. I think it's really relatable, right? Like we see people that can't have kids or their kids are gone or stuff like that have dogs that they're just as connected to them as they are their kids or if they could have kids. And that's something that's generally, across the population, is that connection to nature and connection to dogs, whether we all realize it or not, we all have it, right? And just like your story there with your dog that was your shadow and forever and your best friend, like honestly, these dogs and chasing mountain lions, it saved my life when I was had to quit riding bulls and this is something I devoted my whole life to. It's all I'd ever dreamed of. It's what I ate, slept, and breathed for my whole life. And then in an instant, basically, it's gone. I can say with 100% certainty that the dogs and pursuing, whether it be lions, bobcats, whatever it is we're after, saved my life, because mentally I was a wreck, right? Like I needed something to dive into again that was difficult, that was, all the things that I loved about riding bulls was there with the dogs as well. And I guess I hadn't told that story often, that legit, like when I retired from riding bulls, I was a wreck. Like it was bad time for me mentally.
Yeah.
And the dog saved my life. Yeah, for real.
That's interesting.
Something healthy to dedicate your time to.
Yeah. And I want to get to, tie this over to hunting, but I can relate to that because, being in the Marine Corps and, serving in a combat theater and then going into law enforcement. There was a guy by the name of Gil Martin that wrote a book called Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement. And he talks about a thing called the hypervigilant roller coaster and the cycles that a person that works in an environment like that goes through, where you hit your highs and then you go down and you dip into your lows, and how your body needs time to adjust to that. And it's a great book. I recommend people read it just for their own personal, even if you're not in law enforcement. But anyway, same thing, Kody. It was my opportunity to get back in the right mindset, and that's what it's done for me my whole life. I'm not going to say an escape, because that sounds like that I was using it. It was something that I had to do. And I knew that deep in my soul that I had to go hunt. I had to go spend time with my dogs. My dogs aren't asking me, are your bills paid? Or, they're not putting the demands on me that society does, and even your wife does at times. And it's always been a healthy thing for me, even to the point when I'm not spending the time that I feel like I need to. Like right now, we're kind of in a lull. Everything's locked down with deer hunters and things like that. I get guilty because I'm not out there hunting with my dogs.
Mhm.
And because I feel like it's my obligation to them for me to fulfill my side of the deal. I keep you, I take care of you, and it's painful for me to walk by and look at them and say, yeah, not today. We can't go today.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what they love to do too, right? You're helping them fulfill their purpose in life, and they're helping you fulfill yours. That's an amazing partnership.
Yeah.
The
And
hard
that segues into what I really want to ask you about. Justin, say what you're going to say. I don't want to skip over you here. Have you got something to add to that
I was
before
just gonna say, on top of that too, you know, it's another really hard aspect of it is retiring the old good ones. I did that this last year. I had an old dog. He ended up going blind and dying from cancer on me, and he made me into a lion hunter. You know, he taught me more than anything, anybody, because that dog put me out there in the woods and showed me how to do what I was doing, and to sit and retire that old dog. I mean, he could hardly get around. He was pretty much blind. He'd hear me load them other dogs up, and even today, I mean, it's gut wrenching to me to think about that dog standing at that gate, you know, and he'd try and bark, but he couldn't hardly even bark no more, and just not being able to take him out. You have that same feeling like you said, you know, it's like, oh man, I'd do anything. And his last lion hunt, I actually packed him in, and we got fortunate. We had a short race kind of deal, and he was able to get one more last lion in. You know, he only went about, from where I could shorten him up to, he went about 500, 600 yards. And boy, it was everything he had to get that 500, 600 yards and then back to the truck again, you know. So,
yeah.
but you could tell that whole time that dog, if he could grin, he was grinning, you know.
Kody got to see the last bear that one of the best dogs I ever had, Tree, and that jazz female, you know, and we were together on that one. Took some good pictures there. I got some great video of it. And then when I had to put her down, I packed her ashes back in to that tree and spread them at the tree.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how much these dogs mean to us. And that's how much they own of us. You know, they've got ownership of our emotional being and who we are as people, and they help shape us and our views and different things like that. And I think that's a big part of what is missed on um, the non-hunting public, is that part, that relationship that we as houndsmen actually have and how much they mean to us. You know, that wasn't a difficult tree to get to, but it was still the effort of everything involved of making sure that she stayed the last place that she did her job. And that's what I want to segue into, is that part of it, because we've talked about like my wife's dog and your fishing dog and different things like that. But why do we feel like we need to take this hound and then go catch a lion or a bear or whatever we're pursuing? What is it about that? Because there's a lot of people out there that have these great fuzzy warm feeling stories about this relationship they've got with the dog, but what is it about hunting with the dog that changes the game for us? What do you think, Justin?
Well, you know, this been said before, but you can't force these dogs to do this. This is as much what they want to do as it is anything in the world. And to watch that, I think it's watching that dog go out there, especially when you start your young one, you know, and it runs around like a doofus, and dogs take off barking, and it stands there and looks at you and goes, what is going on? You know,
Yeah.
you've been yelling at me for the last 2 months for barking in the yard. Like, what are they doing? And then you go from that to seeing that dog flip the switch. That's what we call it. And takes off. And that switch goes off in their brain, and that instinctual drive, that chase nature takes over. To watch that, I mean, it gives me goosebumps talking about it now, because I think of some of the dogs that I have now that are good, solid, finished dogs that I watched flip that switch, that I watched grow and change into that, and then you get to see them play their role as a being. You know what I mean? It's this is what that thing is meant to do. It's like a destiny type thing. And you get to see that dog go out there and do what it's been bred to do what it's just primal instinct is. And it's amazing, man, to see these dogs. And it's some of the grittiest, toughest things I've ever seen happen in the world has been behind dogs in the mountains. You know, tough country, long races, everything else in the world. I'm ready to just call in a helicopter and get me out of there. And I've got dogs that are like, no way, we are going to pound this thing until we can't move. You know, that old dog that I talked about, that dog all the way to the end would go to every ounce of his being to be able to do that. And it was because he enjoyed it. It was because it was what he wanted to do. And to see that, it's special, man. It's something else.
Yeah,
And
it's almost one of those deals where it's like, you know, if you're trying to relate to this, you've got that dog that always brings you a frisbee and they want you to throw it. Imagine taking that frisbee away from that dog and never throwing that frisbee for that dog again.
mhm.
You know, denying that dog that opportunity to do it. And that's drawing a picture for people that might be having trouble connecting the dots here of what our dogs mean to us and the way they're bred to do that. But I think it's also something that we as people can relate to. It's like having, what would have happened if you know, somebody walked in with an axe and smashed Beethoven's piano every time he started to play it.
Yeah.
Or when Einstein started to try to, you know, write his math equations, people just came in and erased the chalkboard and handed him a baseball. You know, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't
No.
fit. And I think that in a culture where we see so many videos, and I mean, there's dogs out there with their own freaking TikTok pages and channels and stuff, you know, that people should be able to relate to this side of it and why we do what we do with our dogs and what it does for the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, it really comes down to purpose and passion, whether it's human or dog, right? Like we all have passions. We all, and I'm big on purpose and passion, right? Like I think we should follow our passions because that reveals part of our purpose. Like, right, that's why we're here. And whatever your views are on God and everything, like personally, I believe, you know, we were made a certain way, and we were made to fulfill different purposes in life.
Have you ever read
And
The Purpose Driven Life?
I've read parts of it. I don't think I ever
Yeah.
finished that book.
Yeah.
Um,
Just curious.
yeah, but that's part of these dogs, like their existence too, right? Like legit, this is their purpose. And just like, you know, I use myself because it's an easy example, but you know, my purpose was to be a bull rider my whole life. Like legit, that was why I had the desire and the ability to do what I did, and that fulfilled that part of my life, right? And the dogs are the same way. Like if they don't get to fulfill their purpose and pursue their passion, they're miserable.
Mhm.
And and I think that's the big connection, right? And people can understand that when they're living in in that purpose, right? For pursuing their passion, they are legit. They're human beings, right? They are living. They're enjoying life. They're doing what they're created to do. Uh, and that's the connection there, right? Like it's just these dogs were legitimately built for this reason, and that's their existence. It's what they love to do.
I think when people deny their pets, their dogs, you know, and I'm talking to the non-hunting public, when you deny that dog its ability to fulfill its purpose, I think you're selfish. I think you're extremely selfish. You know, you wanted, and we're seeing tons of this stuff. Working dog breeds are hot. You know, they want to have a Malinois. It's like you live in an apartment in downtown wherever, and you want a Malinois because it's cool, because it's trendy, because it's you know, they make good TikTok videos and you've seen these dogs jumping up walls and doing all this other stuff. But that's a terrible fit. And the same thing goes for our hounds. You can't simply take a dog that's got hundreds of years of purpose bred genetics instilled into it to react a certain way and satisfy those natural genetic driven instincts by teaching it to play fetch. And when you have that expectation, more than likely what's going to happen is you're going to become frustrated with the dog, because when you can't fulfill its drive and its purpose, it's going to try to fulfill it on its own, you know. And this Yog Terrier I've got here is a perfect example of that. You know, if he doesn't hunt, if we don't go on our, you know, our little forage and, you know, adventures around here, then he's going to find something to do. And that could be killing the cat. That could be killing the, you know, whatever. He's going to find something. But when you channel the energy and satisfy that primitive instinctual drive, then man, it's a beautiful relationship.
Oh yeah. I know with my dogs during the season, those are the most well-mannered, decent, no problems kind of dogs. But during the off season, and especially now, right before our season started, they've said a whole summer of boredom.
Coming. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I have my two, I call them my Alcatraz dogs. Those are the two I've got to lock down like you can't believe. Like I about need a net over a 6-foot kennel for these two, because by this time of the year, all I want to do is get out. All I want to do is go, 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 go. Well, then when that season starts and we do start doing that and we start training and everything else, talk about leave the gate open. And these dogs are satiated. They're satisfied. They're like, yeah, it's go time now, you know? So they're content and they're everything else. But in them off seasons, man, you see that those dogs they want to go. Like I've got a pretty seasoned lion dog that by the middle of summer, she's chasing birds out of the yard. You know, like she is just bored to death. A Tweety bird landed in the yard and she's going after it. By the end of season, you know, you could probably walk a animal right through the yard and she just watch it go by. You know, but once they get tired and they get bored because they're not fulfilling themselves, you definitely see it, you know, and that just goes to show you the purpose behind these dogs and the drive behind them. I mean, I wish I had the motivation that these dogs have. I'd probably be a millionaire, but it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what's something that's been missed when people do look at hunting dogs, is they don't think of it as a dog fulfilling its purpose. They picture it as a blood sport, right? They think it's all about the killing, when, you know, us on this conversation know that's far from the truth. But we got to do a better job of portraying that story, right? And it started, right? Like with the Blood Origins Lionheart movie and all that stuff. But we've definitely just got to do a better job of showing that other side of things, when it's not like I spoke earlier, it's all about the process, not the outcome.
Yeah. Brad Luttrell summed it up real well. He owns Go Wild, the social media platform for hunters and stuff. And he summed it up when he said, you know, the part that's missing in our hunting culture is what you said, the process of getting to that point. It's not just the grip and grin. That's the easiest part of any hunt, is actually taking the animal. The process to get here, and I think that's what we see a lot in the hunting community, when houndsmen and hunting with hounds is misrepresented, when they, you know, you even see other hunters say, oh, it's not fair chase, or it's too easy. You don't understand the process. You know, I can take my rifle and I can set it in the safe for 11 months out of the year and go out and fire a few rounds, you know, spend a day at the range, and I'm ready to shoot that rifle. That's not the way it is with a hound or a dog when we're hunting with dogs.
And that's a big part that's misconstrued big time. You know, like I was saying earlier, we've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours with these dogs. And the other thing that I think people have to kind of get in their head, these dogs are not infallible. These dogs are just a being that makes mistakes. It's an animal as well, you know. So when you're chasing one animal with another animal, there's all the mistakes possible in the world. I've had wreck after wreck. I've had losses you can't imagine. My catch rate is nothing like some guys, and nobody's got a perfect catch rate too. That's what a lot of people are really confused about. I don't understand that we've drove around for 7 hours today, walked for 5, and then went home and didn't catch or see a thing. And then when we do catch, you know, we're not killing these lions all the time.
How many lions have you killed in your life, Justin? Two.
How long? I've hunted for 10 years.
Yeah.
I've owned dogs and hunted for 10 years.
Kody, what about you?
Yeah, I've killed a few in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
It's I mean, but you look at trees, right? I mean, there's hundreds of lions in the trees, and a couple have been taken out, and they were old males. You know, it's easy for us to understand that, but a lot of people don't. They think everything dies, right? That's far, far from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the lions that I've killed, I killed a lion on my grandfather's birthday the year he passed away. We caught it on his birthday, and I took that lion the year he passed away. And then I killed the first ever solo dirt lion that I caught by myself. And because that was monumentous, man. That was a big deal. And
they're symbolic of something bigger than just taking the lion, you know, and I've been hunting lions since 1993, you know, not as often as I want to, but during that time, like Kody said, walked to hundreds of treed lions to take pictures, to evaluate a lion. I don't know how many trees we've walked to where we never even had a gun with us. You know, there was no way to take that lion. And there's been one lion that I've taken during that time. So this idea that it's a blood sport, like Kody said, and like the antis want to paint it as, it's just simply not true. It's about the process, like Kody says.
Yeah. Well, there's so much before it too. You know, that back to that fair chase side of things. It's two different animals, and whether you got more dogs in it or not, you know, you've got these animals that are infallible, and a lot of people, or that are not infallible, sorry. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you got the GPS collars. That's so I get the dog home that night.
Yeah.
That's what that's, and so he doesn't run 7 miles chasing a deer like that. That's so I get the dog home that night. You know, it's not, it's a lot easier than it was for them old
GPS. You don't have dogs that chase deer 7 miles?
No.
You can use a collar for that?
Yeah.
Man, exactly. We're gonna have to talk after the podcast.
Yeah. You know, it's and people think it's like some that I see anti-hunters do this, and I noticed one just the other day. It was actually in a newspaper that there's electronic tracking devices. Well, we didn't put it to the lion. It's on the dog that probably it may or may not catch that lion, you know, and that's so I can take him home and stick him in a warm dog barn and feed him that night. And I don't have to chase him all night across the mountain and everything else, you know. It's for the dog's benefit. It's nice what for us, but
when we see people make comments like that, okay, so this collar helps me catch a lion. I'm going to put this collar on you, and I'm going to haul you 3 hours out into the mountains to a place that the lion lives every day. You've never been there before. The lion lives there every day. So if this collar is an unfair advantage, you should have more of an opportunity to actually find the lion and take the lion personally without a dog, right? That's what we're saying here.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, they're saying it's like some super hack that allows you to catch lions. That's far from it.
Yeah, they're not built with artificial intelligence where we can manufacture a lion through the use of our electronic training devices. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
And when that
Crazy.
person doesn't go catch that lion and I tone them and they don't turn around, I'm just going to start shocking them too.
Giving them a little stimulation.
Yeah, there you
Like,
go.
stop looking at elk tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's confusing and it's hard and us as houndsmen, we've just kind of shook our head and walked away on it a lot of the times and because it's a deep conversation, there's so much more to it than most guys have to spit out at the gas station. When the one guy says, "Oh, why do you do that?" Or whatever, there's so much more conversation that needs to be had.
I avoid
So,
them. I do. It's like, you're not going to
yeah.
understand, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time here.
And
You know,
that sucks,
and I'm in the business of telling people that we need to figure out our narrative and how to tell it, or somebody else is going to tell it for us. So I get it. It's a natural thing that it's like, man, I just want to go hunt. I don't want, but I think we all get the idea that when it's a good time and when it's not a good time. I saw a meme that's been circulating, and of all people, it's a picture of Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's saying I'm at the age where I avoid controversy. If 1+1 = 5, if somebody wants to say 1+1 = 5, I'm good with that. And I just don't think that's the whole plan. That is the whole plan, is to beat us down to the point where we don't care and we don't tell our story and we don't have conversations like this and talk about, why we hunt and what hunting means to us and what a relationship with those dogs mean and what their purpose is and how important it is for them to fulfill their purpose, where we ultimately get to fulfill our purpose. And, once we've gotten to that point where we can tolerate people saying 1+1 = 5, we've lost.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some things that are still, I mean, if some dumbass wants to sit around and say 1+1 = 5, it's new math, go for it, dude. I get it. But when you're trying to tell me that what we do as hunters and houndsmen isn't filling a lot of different purposes for us, for our natural world, for the dogs that everybody says that they love, man, I'm going to fight that one until I can't fight it anymore. There are some things worth still fighting for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to fight those battles, right? Like, if it's when we sit back and say, well, I kind of feel uncomfortable in this conversation, I'll let somebody else that's maybe talks better than me, maybe hopefully I'll run into this person. That's cowardice, right? Like, if it's just like, you see something wrong and you don't do nothing about it, like that's cowardice. And that's sometimes what I got to kick myself in my own butt to have those conversations that feel like they might be uncomfortable sometimes, because if I don't, who will? I don't want to be the coward in that situation. And most of the time when we speak up, it actually ends up being way better than we ever expected.
Yeah.
So sometimes we crash and burn, right? But that's life. Sometimes you get hit in the face, you just get back up and try again. But I found a really good spot lately to have those conversations is on planes. Because I'm stuck to them people for a while. I got an audience around us. They're going to be eavesdropping whether we want them to or not. So, hey, let's have the conversation. And they've it's amazing though how receptive. We think a lot of the general public that doesn't know about hound hunting already has preconceived ideas, when a lot of them don't.
Yeah,
a lot
you're
of them
right.
are open to learning about it, and without fail, at the end of every conversation, the people are in love with the dogs. They're amazed by the process and have a totally new understanding for how all this goes down. And obviously that's always the goal.
They're always floored when it's like you show them all these pictures of mountain lions and trees, and you tell them, it's like, no, we didn't shoot it. We didn't shoot that lion. Here's why: because see the stripes on its legs, that's juvenile, blah blah blah, see the features on its face, that's a female lion, and you start educating them, and then all of a sudden they're like, holy, holy smoke, this isn't what the TV commercial said, where these guys are ignorant and not informed and just out for the kill. And when we develop those skills to be able to talk to people like that, and it becomes easier as you continue to do it. The first few times it's like asking a girl out on a date. You fumble all over yourself, and
Mhm.
and and then you just develop the skills. It's like pounding nails for the first time. It's like getting on a bull the first time. The more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you're not really ready. It's just your turn, you know?
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
and the other thing too is people have to understand the ecological benefit to it as well. I mean, us as houndsmen, that is very selective hunting because we have that ability. We get to put that lion in a tree or on a ledge and look at it. Is this a wet female? Is this whatever, and we can make that distinction and we can decide whether this is the right thing to do there or not, and then the other side too, I hunt a lot of private. People got to understand that these private ranches, they get hammered by lions when they're not hunted for an extended period of time. And so these people, they come in, they have an issue. They have human interaction problems. They have this, they have that. Well, those lions then need to be culled so that coexistence is still there. And houndsmen play that role more than the boot hunter can. And I don't want to take anything away. Anybody that kills a lion on their feet without dogs, then you should be proud. But you're not able to look at that lion before you take it and say, hey, that's a mature tom. And if you are, you're deadly close. But if not, then maybe you shoot a wet female, or maybe you do this, and you don't know. And with the hounds, we have the ability to be so precise, and we have the ability to be so accurate and be good stewards of wildlife conservation. And that's really what it is. That's why it exists now, is because it's the best method of take for mountain lions, especially. And it is the accuracy in it is far and beyond what anyone else can achieve any other way. And people get upset about the dog aspect of it, whether they think, there's people on certain sides that think, the dogs are forced into this deal, or it's a completely unfair chase and you have this magical GPS device, and
Yeah.
whatever. It's not that, and it's hard to tell somebody that it's not that, and reiterate the fact of how important it is for ecosystems to do this. I've hunted a ranch that wasn't hunted for a very long time, and we went in there and we took some lions out of it, and this will be the third or fourth year now, I don't know, but they had next to no mule deer on this ranch. I mean, very, very few. This is a very big ranch, and you could cut all day and you'd see a handful of deer tracks and a few down by the house and whatnot. This last year that we hunted that ranch, you couldn't go 100 yards without another deer track. I mean, it was deer all over this thing. Everybody at the ranch, all the workers, all the ranch manager, everybody's like, the deer population has exploded. We have more deer than we've ever had, and that's because we harvested mountain lions there. We
Yeah.
we 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 changed the ecosystem in a very healthy way. There's still plenty of mountain lions on this ranch, and it's a much healthier ranch now for it on the wildlife side. I mean, that first year, I think I cut one bobcat track. That last year that I was there, oh God, I cut 12, 15. I can't even remember. They were everywhere. Even the bobcat population came up. The snowshoe hares, they came down in elevation. Like it was amazing to see all the changes in that ranch over the 3 years that I've been able to hunt it, and see the game diversity pick up.
Mm-hmm.
When the first year it was absolutely riddled in lions. Like, you would not have wanted to walk with a limp at night on this ranch. It would not have been a safe place. it was a freaky amount of lions at first, and then now there's a few less lions, and there's a lot more deer. There's more game all the way across the landscape, and it just was healthy. It was healthy as what the ranch needed. It needed that management. And underneath the the model, that's a part of it. That's a
Yeah.
big part of it. And if we don't have this, our model has to somehow adapt to it, to that change. That's not good for anybody. That's not good for the wildlife. That's not good for the hunting communities. That's not good for anything.
I think you point out something that's pretty valuable right there in telling that kind of story about where you have progressed in your journey as a houndsman and a lion hunter. Because when I was 9 years old, I wasn't thinking about the North American model for wildlife conservation. I wasn't thinking about management. I wasn't thinking about biodiversity. I wasn't, genetic diversity. I wasn't thinking about it. I wanted to hunt. But because of the process of being serious about hunting, it's moved me to the point where, I made a whole career out of wildlife management. I was immersed in the lifestyle and the culture and everything that went with it. I wasn't just a fan watching from the stands. I wanted to be on the field playing the game and become the best I could be on that field. And that included, you take a guy like Peyton Manning, reading. The reason he was good is because he immersed himself into the culture. He learned how to read defenses and coverages and all this other stuff, and it made him great at what he did. He wasn't just a fan watching. He wasn't just some guy that sat back and thought, I like playing football, and no, he immersed himself. Kody's a world champion bull rider. You didn't get there just by watching PBR on TV and being a enthusiastic fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. It's there's people that want to be spectators and people that want to be involved, and that's what you are. That's what we all are. And honestly, we care more about this wildlife than the other side gives us credit for. I mean, the reason
by far
that the North American model works is because of guys like us. And we talk about fair chase, unfair advantage, this and that. And we all know here the dogs 100% do not. It's not a guaranteed deal. They do not give you an unfair advantage. It is just the best, absolute best way to manage wildlife like this. But you can argue the same thing whether high-powered scopes and scent blockers and all this stuff gives you an unfair advantage. It's all hunting, right? And it's all done with a purpose. And just like fly fishing and bait fishing are two different types of fishing, they're both fishing. And I don't see maybe the fly fishermen think they're better than the bait fishermen, but I think they get along pretty well and they understand that. And we need to understand that too.
Well, and they both stand up for fishing as well,
Yeah.
But yeah, Kody's dead on. Kody's dead on with that. It's just, I don't know. It's difficult, really.
You got to experience it, right? They got to experience it, really. And there's so few of us that know what that experience is like that it's difficult to put into words for somebody that hasn't experienced it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like somebody trying to explain it how AI works, artificial intelligence to me. That's I haven't experienced it. I don't know. It's scary. It's different, it's just a lot of different things. It's like getting on a bull. Not, at 54 years old, I'm going to tell you, it's not happening. I rode my first steer at like 9 years old, but there haven't been many since then. I can tell you that. And it's not going to start today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe one more time before you're done.
Right.
You got one named Fu Manchu. Remember that Tim McGraw song?
Yeah. What's it? 2.7 seconds or something. That's the time to beat for you.
That would be a goal. 2.7.
Hey, that would be a hell of a podcast too. We could make a big deal out of it, raise some money for charity, see if you can go longer than old Tim McGraw did.
Oh, there you go.
I told Kody the other day, I said, I need you to get an ambulance up there and ready. And and get me a vest and a helmet, and I gotta get it out of my system. So I'm gonna go up to Kody's and I'm gonna jump on something. Hopefully it's about a 300-pound calf, but I'm gonna
Dude,
jump
I've
on
seen
something.
those 300-pound calves come out of that chute. That one black one you posted the other day, that thing was radical. He's going to hurt somebody, Kody.
I would look like an astronaut off the back of that thing, man.
Yeah. The breeding program on them, just like all the performance animals, is it's amazing how far it's come. And we'll get you set up. Come on up.
All right. I'll be out there later on. I one last question. One last question. If they took lion hunting away from you, what would they do to you?
Whew. You know, taking lion hunting away from me personally would be like taking away part of my life that I can't replace, that I can't put together any other way. Like I said, the lion hunting is not for me. It's hunting. We call it hunting. It does serve its purpose as far as wildlife management, but the process behind it, the fulfillment of pursuing such a challenge is irreplaceable. Like I said, it saved my life, and if it was taken away, I don't know. I don't know. I honestly, I can't tell you it'd be like taking away one of my kids, because it's not the same. But it'd be taking away a big part of my heart that can't ever get back.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know, it's a lot of people got to understand, for guys like us, and a lot of people too. It's not a sport. It's not a hobby. This is a lifestyle. We do this 24/7, 365. You know, I mean, I check dogs, I manage dogs, I doctor dogs. I keep these dogs up through the year. I spend all my time getting ready to hunt. I spend all my time hunting, and then I um wait to do it again. You take this away from us, and you might as well cut a hand off of me. You know, and for me too, you know, it's my family as well. My family owns an outfitting business. They are renowned for lion hunting. For them to lose that, where they live, the amount of permanency that's already set for them and for myself. I own a business. I have family in the state. Like, it's for me to up and move to another state because they took it from us would be devastating. It'd be uprooting an entire life just to get that chunk of me back. You know, and for my family, I mean, they're what do they do? You know, what do they do from there? You know, they're so set up, they're so established that to take this out of that, then like Josh, I think about Josh and Jason when we talk about this stuff, because those guys are as obsessed and sick in the head over it as anybody I've ever known, anybody I've ever met. I live and breathe it every day. It's a constant thought every day. It's not a hobby. It's not just a sport. It's not just whatever. It's a passion. It's a way of life. And to take that away from somebody without knowing truly what it is, you know, you see it on a ballot or whatever it is, and I'm gonna vote yes for this. That small little moment of thought in someone else's mind is a monumental change. It's a life-altering change for us. And to get somebody to understand that is my new goal, you know, is my new drive right now, is to get somebody to understand that, hey, it's not just a small minute thought for you. It's an actual life change for me and a lot of other people in this state or in this nation or whatever it is, you know. So it's devastating. It makes my hands tremble. It makes me sick to my stomach to know that the possibility of losing it is there.
Pretty powerful, Justin. Pretty powerful. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. I don't think there's any questioning, you know, why we get out of bed every morning. You know, this is it, and how important it is to us. And I mean, it's I skip food to be able to do this.
Mhm.
And anybody that knows me ever since I was a little bitty kid, food's always been pretty important to me, you know, and not just eating food, but the process of eating it, you know, and
Right.
it's that important to me that we've all missed meals and spent nights on the mountain, sleeping in a truck or wherever, because these dogs are out here giving us everything they got. And, you know, being involved in that lifestyle. And yeah, we've always said that, Justin, it's more than just, this isn't our golf hobby.
Mhm.
You know, this is us participating at the highest level that we can achieve, that in something that doesn't have a league. You know, we keep score with ourselves and against something that's wild and doesn't observe any rules. And it wakes up that inner passion in those, I mean, prehistoric instincts in us to contribute not only to the wildlife, but also to our families and different things. So man, I tell you what, I really appreciate getting you guys perspective on this. Great conversation, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We appreciate you having us, and you nailed it on the head, man. It's as important as eating and breathing. And that means a lot. You let us come on and share that story and give our take on it. So you've done a lot of great things for this community. The whole houndsman world. You're the man. Keep it up.
Appreciate it, Kody.
Yeah. And
How
one
can
last thing I want to say too, Chris, is I also want to speak to your listeners a little bit and let them know, UHC, United Houndsmen of Colorado.
I was going to open that door for you. Jump
Yeah,
through it, Justin.
we're a Colorado-based nonprofit organization. We're structured around educating people around hound hunting. We have a community and set of members, and I'd love for that membership to increase. We need more people involved, and I don't care if you're in Colorado or if you're not, or whatever. I want houndsmen involved, and Colorado's going to be facing some changes here in the future, and we need backup. We need people on our team. We need support.
Proposed changes.
Yes, proposed changes. I should reiterate that. But
Yeah.
but we need people. We need support. We need friends. We need community. And we're going to be doing some pretty special stuff here in the future. Me and you've had talked about some future plans, and I talked to about probably 30, 40 people a week on the phone. So there's a lot of irons in the fire. There's a lot of things going on, and we need involvement. We need guys to step up, get yourself a membership, sign up as a volunteer, come to some of the shows or banquets or whatever it is that we plan to do in the next year. I can't let too many cats out of the bag yet, but
Right.
Come by. Go to the website. It's unitedhoundsmenofco.com. Look at it, read it, become a member, show your support. We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook. You can find it through my stuff, Kody stuff. I mean, you look on the internet, you'll find it.
Yeah, for sure.
And come help us out. So
that's the thing. I mean, I've watched houndsmen rise up to support children's hospitals, other houndsmen, all kinds of civic causes, different things in my lifetime at fundraisers and different things, military outreach programs. And without going down the road too far, now's the time that Colorado needs our help and our support as a hound hunting community. This is a paramount effort that's going to take place the next year. So you guys keep up the good work. We're going to get more and more into that stuff as this whole situation develops. And but just getting together and talking lion hunting and what it means to us and how important it is to us, I think that was valuable, guys. Appreciate it.
well, we appreciate
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast. Make sure that you're checking us out on houndsmanxp.com or social media platforms, all those different places. Justin, if I can get a logo from you. I'll have a logo put on our website so that people can access from there too, and find out what's going on, keep up to date. You guys have got your own social media stuff going on there with United Houndsmen of Colorado, and glad to see that people are willing to rise up in these times and educate and do all that stuff. So thanks for tuning in to the Houndsman XP podcast. This is Fair Chase.